Will AI steal your business? Don't delay. Be AI exit ready. Welcome back to Business Exit Secret Formula. I'm Josie and I'm here with David. And let's be real, AI is scaring a lot of business owners, right?
That's right. It's not just hype. AI is replacing roles, but it's also amplifying smart owners who adapt it early. And that's who we are here for.
McKinsey says 70% of business tasks could be automated by 2030.
And Goldman Sachs, they estimate 30 million jobs could be disrupted globally. 30 million.
So here's the kicker. AI won't replace business owners, but it will replace the ones who ignore it.
Today's about awareness and taking action. Let's use real business case an example. And not only are we going to use AI, but we're going to throw in a little bit of robotics from a building industry and construction. And this has been an industry that I have been in myself for the last 45 years. It's an incredible industry to be part of because you just think that it builds your homes, your offices, your cafes, the roads, the railways. Everything is all part of the construction industry and so much more. So in this case study, we'll just use a model without naming names of the company, as you can appreciate, it's privacy. But we're going to have the business owners, 50 years old, a little bit younger than myself. The industry is obviously building construction, size is 10 employees, annual revenue is 10 million. Primary challenge, skilled labour shortages due to an ageing workforce. And that's not going to get any better because in the next 5 years, they say that 45% of the industry is going to retire. And that's if they get to the stage of 65, replaced by only 10%, and they estimate only 1% at skill level. So we're going to have to do something quite major if we still want to have our offices and homes and roads. So that's why from all of those years of different experiences as we've moved through, we're going to start digging into AI and robotics and the capacity and a roadmap for it. So the roadmap's going to lay out starting from year one. So like any building, we start with the foundation. So if you don't get the foundation right, what do they say? Don't build it on sand, isn't it? Build it on rock. So we need to get the right tools in place. So if you don't price it right, so we're going to use the tools of estimating. Start with that. So there's a lot of different ones out there, and we're not out there promoting any particular tool, but it's a moving parts on the different ones that you can use. But if you don't get the estimate right in the beginning, then you're on the back foot. Then from there, you can implement AI-powered scheduling tools. So we know like there's projects and different tools that we've typically been used, but there's way bigger steps now, which is very much orientated by the implementation of people in the office. Centralized project data. So we need to know our numbers. So like in any business, we need to know our numbers. And we've got software, for example, there's lots of other different products. Like I say, we're not out pro, but for example, Procore is probably one of the biggest ones out there. We can utilize all of that. So that has all the documentation, has all the plans. You can update all of those. It's all time-stamped. Everything is set through there, and any modifications or updates are done through one centralized platform. Then there's digital site reports, for example. All of that can be under a whole range of different types of software, but like I say, Procore is one of the core ones, and there's lots of other ones as well. The next part is on the roadmap is to really start looking at the automation pilot. So we've gone from the foundation, we're getting off and we're starting to look at what we can do. And since robotics is quite a new subject at the moment, we're really looking at trialing it. So I'm not suggesting go off and buy a robot at the moment. It's probably better to try and hire because it's just adapting at such speed. So what we looked at 6 months ago, today it's just so dynamic that it's probably be the trial process of those. And for example, is field printers, for the precise layouts so they can scan a building, an existing building, if you're doing an office fit out or something of that size. How you get plans and they don't meet and things collide and all the rest of it. This is a great way to do that. So we can even use the likes of drone mapping. And we've done that in the past as well when we've been involved with shopping centres which had to be replaced due to hail damage. And so we mapped right across all of that. So that was a few years back, but that's evolved dramatically now. So no one in the office had to go and actually go out to the site and measure up anything. Neither did I. I got these drones and then they mapped it all so then you can actually price it and do it accordingly. So that's really exciting as well. And the accuracy, honestly, is very close. It's somewhere between 30 to 50 millimeters. Then the other part, we can integrate basic AI images. For example, we can use it for compliance and safety. So we can be mapping what is going out on a regular basis. So you think construction sites move at such a pace. There's holes 1 minute, there's all sorts of things. They can be mapping all the time. So we've got people that will be out there looking at those things. Now we're going to actually utilize that mapping to pick that up before there's even a scenario that we have. So they can recognize that. And that's a massive thing because we want everyone to come to work and then go back to their families. And then in year 3 to 4, here we are in the processes and systems. So if you've listened to any of what we've done, standard operating procedures, we will go on and on about that. But this is the ideal time where we try to extract that out of people's heads. Now we can certainly do that, but we can plug it into the AI heads and then they can make that evolve. So, for example, developing branded standard operating procedures, showing off AI-enhanced workflows. So, for example, we use Asana for all of those workflows. That's all part of that systemization. So remember, you've got project management on the site where we're talking about Procore. We can use all of that those tools. We can't just go to have one type of platform, but we can integrate them all underneath that one tool, which is the Asana will bring all of those. We're not eliminating things. It's a platform that we can use to centralize all of that. And they use AI as well. So, for example, that would have AI-driven dashboards. So you could see your estimating, you could see your tracking, for example, where you're on the job, your milestones. So you've got certain dates that you need to hit. So, for example, a foundational date, a roof-on date, all of these types of milestones, which are quite important triggers to hit. And if you miss them, it's very hard to claw them back. And so we've all experienced where delays and all the rest of it, delays cost not only the client, but it costs the builder a lot. So, and then there's promoted other different types of presentations. Fast bid AI, for example, is one of those that's just popped out. But like I say, there's so many different ones. So when you're presenting to the client, we need to lift up our game as far as that's concerned. We can't just sit around the table anymore and just show them the numbers that this job's $10 million or something. We need to promote all of these tools that we've got, that we've invested in, so that can provide the competency for that what we do. It can provide assurance that the actual client it's not just about price, because we want to increase the price. We want it so the client knows they're going to get the job on time, a high quality job. And so they feel like, right, we want to have you to do our work. Your margins are up. Always you hit the date or you're early. And that's why we want to have you. Because at the end of the day, if they can be leasing out their buildings, whatever they're doing, this is a great advantage for them to have someone that is AI equipped. And in this scenario, we're going to be AI and robotically equipped. So year 5. So the exit ready. So you're going to be starting a business, and that's why we're part of the exit, business exit. So we're here to help you get that ready. So it's not something that's going to happen straight away. And that's why we put it under the 5 years. And because there's so many things happening in the next 5 years, it's crucial, absolutely crucial, that we get fully systemized workflows. We get our branding as tech forward builders. So our industry is relatively behind in a lot of this. So let's be where we're AI and robotically forward builders, that we are known for that. And we're going to be ahead of the game, ahead of our competitors. And then we've got a sellable business. And then, as we're going along, we're tracking all that data. When the owner goes through for all of their due diligence and whatever, we're actually tracking that all the time, because we track it for our projects, where we're at for time, money, everything else. And we've got that data on board straight away. And you can see where we've improved. So, for example, we've been doing projects the old way, the current way at the moment. Just think of how we can actually improve. And we can say, we've increased our efficiency, hypothetically, by 10%. Now, that 10%, there's only one place that goes. That increases your margin. That increases your profit. So then they can see the increase. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get 10% increase in the first year. We're talking about over a 5-year period. So if we can increase it by 10% over a 5-year period, this is where the buyers can actually look at that performance. They can see future growth, because they can see that there's more room to actually increase that. The other essential metrics and unique features is AI and robotic impact. And like I say, this is a new discovery in some ways. There's already companies out there like Hilti, for example, that have a certain amount of robotic stuff out there. But if you go and look at the stats, for example, reduced estimating time by 70%. So where we would say, hypothetically, take 5 days to estimate something out. So remember, we can be modelling all that stuff even for our subcontractors and all the rest of it, and just get final checks. So this could take 1.5 days. So that's massive difference in what it costs and the accuracy of our estimation. Increase our schedule accuracy by 40%. So same thing, all of this is money on the table. If it takes longer, it just costs more. You got people on site, you're paying those. So if you can, the way a builder always makes money is to be in and out, do a good job, and complete it fast. And the clients are happy, because nowadays everyone is complaining that they're always behind. And part of that is due to labour restraints. But here we are, we're talking about AI and we're talking about robotics. So cut layout labour by 50%. 50% by robots. So we know, just diversifying a little bit, but for example, talking about robots and labour, Amazon, for example, they use 100,000 robots that replaces 750,000 people, and the use of AI. So the next time you jump on Amazon and have a little chat with them because you want to return something or have got a query, you will be talking to a chatbot, which is basically a robot in its own funny way, but it's a software robot. And then improve client satisfaction due to transparency and looking at those timelines. You're keeping a track of all of those types of things that are going on. So you're not waiting for something to go wrong and then fix it up. You're already estimating, and you've got that improvement. So the client, they can follow what you're doing, and you can open that up instead of hiding that and having your meetings, the PCG meetings and the likes. You can now show this stuff all the time, all this data and transparency. They can see there's not hiding something behind and say, look, we're behind because of whatever's going on. The next part, operational advantages. Now, this is a very tricky part of construction. So if you go and look at it, we're going to lower the reliances on aging skilled labour. Same thing as we mentioned before, the amount of people that are exiting. This is a major part and a major problem. This is one of the great advantages by using robotics. So safety is enhanced. You think of those sort of situations where you're putting people at risk. Say, for example, they dig a hole in the ground and you have to go and put pipes and do things like that, or foundations, and obviously there's shoring and other different things that go on. You can put a robot in there. And if it did fall in, not that you want to protect your robot, but at the end of the day, you can pull that out and fix up the robot. But, if something falls on top of or covers someone, then obviously they run out of oxygen and it's all over. So safety, so faster turnarounds that we're talking about, more projects, more profit. It's a very simple PP. And the value to buyers. So we've all heard of EBITDA. So we're going to increase that, and it's going to be more sustainable. You're going to see more consistency now. It's not going to be up and down, because you're going to be the market leader, because you've got the robotics and the AI, and you're going to be a dynamic builder. The past is gone, the future's ahead of us, and it's exciting if we apply it. So we got a whole lot of different parts that we can do. So obviously we can, the repeatable things, the scalable side of it. You don't need so many staff on sites. It's just a positive. Now, what we've got a bit of a chart. And when you come along to our online event, which is on the 4th, we will actually hand these out as well. Or if you can't, then just send us an email and I'll give you the details at the bottom. But it's a visual chart. So it's pretty much about what we would say like AI maturity. So we have to introduce it. We're not going to get everything first on year 5 and year 1. So we'll start with year 1, so the phase year, so start. So we're going to, our key actions is to do with estimating, scheduling, and AI data capture. So we're going to capture all of that data. So if you then look at the line where it's got the buyer's value, they can see your cost control and the speed of how they can actually track that. So you're not making up numbers by going to your accountant and being a little bit crafty on it. We're actually now looking at the raw numbers, and that's what they want. Then we move to year 2, the next phase, and we put that under what we call a trial phase. So as we were talking before, robots, drones are probably more advanced, they definitely are, but there's a whole lot of automation that we need a little bit of testing because we're into new waters at the moment. So if we're starting this today, we need to do a trial period. So if you start looking at the buyer's value, for example, we're looking at the labour gap solution, massive labour gap when we're talking about 45%. So that can fill in that gap and more. And then obviously we've got a PR exercise in that too, because people are going to definitely be interested if we're a robotic and AI driven building business. Year number 3, this is the exciting part for me, because this is where we can start scaling up. So we've taken a couple of years to go through this process, and that's where we can actually really start introducing standard operating procedures. This never goes away, but we can start. AI will build a lot of that stuff with the right prompts, but it's building that information that we can put in place. Then we can lay that out on dashboards. We don't have to keep writing on whiteboards, even though we do use whiteboards, don't we? But it's still old school, but it's exciting that we can actually follow that process as well, and this becomes part of our branding. So same old thing. What does a buyer look at? It's a repeatable proof of what we do. So they can see time again that we're slowly increasing that productivity, and then we're increasing it all realms. We start in the office, we're out in the site, where we do our presentations, where we do all of that. So the days of having hundreds of people working for you will get down that you're going to have robots and AI, and you could be $100 million builder and you might have 6 people. This is where it's going if you really start looking at it. So that changes the whole dynamics of the whole process. And those 6 people could be in different states, like we come from Australia. They could be different states, whether you're in America, same thing. You might have 1 person in each state. So it's so much scalability in there. And then years 4 and 5. So because we're part of the business exit, we're looking at the exit in this part. So systems, the maturity of those systems and the innovation of the AI and robotics that we've put there. There's a buyer's pack, so we're going to build that as we go. So the buyer doesn't have to go and spend all this money on due diligence, because they really don't like that. I can assure you, for someone that's on the helps buyers buying in as well. And obviously that has a big impact on the value. So they can have a look at that snapshot of your business, because you're tracking, you're virtually doing a due diligence report for them every year. And every year is not really, it's more like every project. And you can do it at a time snap as well. And so that becomes a premium multiple. So we all know about multiples. So if you don't know about multiples, pretty much in most realms, an accountant will typically have a multiple of 2 to 3 times. You've got a lot of software. So that's, in other words, they look at your turnover profit or EBITDA, and then they multiply that by 2 or 3 times, and that's the value of your business. However, when you start applying today with a lot of software companies, and you can go on the ASX or in Australia or the NASDAQ or something like that, look at the multiples for software companies, that can be 17, 20 times or more. So we want to be up there. We don't want to be a 2 or 3 time multiple. We want to start aiming for 10 times. And then obviously the marketing and the perception of this new company that you're creating, being ahead of the game. So you position yourself as an innovative AI robotic company that doesn't have to rely on a whole lot of staff. You're the next generation contractors that are there. You can be featured regionally, you can be on different panels, you can be the tech adapters and all of that. You can now become the market leader. Everyone wants to be the market leader. So you become that. So even though you might have had a business for 50 years, if you turn this way and the likes, you could then be the market leader in construction as you move through into the next phase. And then you can promote it as a smart site, so smart and safe site. So you're not putting anyone to risk. Your site is smart in the dynamics of that modelling that you do. So where you've got the likes of drones monitoring on a regular basis, they're up there. You can scan the buildings and what you've got there. You've got the architects and developers. They just love you because you're doing a lot of work for them, and then they need to actually keep up with you in that case because you've modelled a lot of that stuff. And where they would typically go to draw that, you would then be part of being introduced at the very beginning of the project before you even start to build because you've got all of that technology. And then, of course, you can document all of these case studies, showing the use of your AI and your robotics, and then that will lead you become the market leader. And that could be part of, for example, like the master builders, which is in Australia, for example, or different entities they have in other countries in the world as well. So there's only a win-win. Now, the exit positioning and buyer's pitch. Now, we've got all the data. We've got a whole lot of the operations in place. So now we have to start looking at who is going to be our ideal buyer. Now, most people don't really think about that, but you've got private equity firms, for example. There's lots of them, I can assure you, that are looking, that's their full-time job, looking for scalable businesses and platforms. You've got national firms that want to expand into that area and that you've already created this tech-forward capacities with your AI and your automation, your efficiencies and all the rest of it, and they want to expand into a different state. They come in and then they will buy you for a very high multiple as well. And obviously there's the owner-operators who want to progress. They want to get into a different area or they want to adapt. They perhaps are struggling with the concept of implementing that. So they come in there and then they buy you out. So you become very, very attractive for being part of that sales process. So what you've proven to your ideal buyer is this, that you've got proven systems and workflows. You've obviously got the appropriate tech stack. So you've got your lineup of all your software, everything's working well. You've got your licenses, because we all need to be licensed in these for the different parts. You've got the digital training. So within that, you've got a very sleek company of people. You've got all the bots. You've got all of the robots working. You've got the technicians, which is a network of people supporting all of that. All of those things are in place and have been tested over that 5-year period. So we do emphasise that don't leave any of this to the last minute because it takes time to implement all of this. And then obviously you've got a good strong network of subcontractors because we obviously all, as builders, we need all of those because they're the ones that do the building. So we need the best plumbers and electricians. And part of your systemization in that process, you can implement some of those on board as well within your systems, and then they can enhance that. So they could be accredited in your system, and that's another thing that could be part of that world. And really, the next steps for most people is really start looking at that documentation of what you've created as we've gone through these case studies. And with that branding, think about the branding of what you do. You can start putting robots on your site fences and things like that and AI and all that. So you create that attraction that you've got these robots and things. People will be very attractive. So your branding process will change as well. And then ideally, and we help people with this whole model as well, is a 2-minute explainer video showing all about your AI and your robotics and the workflows and everything else that you do. They will be fascinated by that because here we are. If you're going to do the old model, no one's interested. They're curious. They want to see what you're doing. So you'll see all of those within that. You've got the numbers and the data, but we need to present that in a good format as well. So let's turn this good business into a premium exit-ready asset. And the asset is where it's really making serious money. I just use we did have a look at one particular site here, which is in Boston, Boston Dynamic Robot Dog, they call it. They nicknamed the dog Spot. And it's at the Harvey Milk Terminal 1 project in San Francisco. Now, in collaboration with the builders that were there, Spot navigated the construction site on basically autopilot. So you think planes are flying around on autopilot and they're being programmed, so the same thing is happening with Spot. So he's capturing a 360-degree image to monitor the process and ensure that quality is controlled. So every split second, he's got his machine scanning around the place. And all this is integrated into the AI and the robotics, streamlining the documentation process. So it's scanning all the time. Spot, he's out there going around the site, and he's really just taking in all of that documentation. So really, we're reducing human error and we're enhancing safety. So we're not putting our personnel into dangerous and hazardous spots.
Well, after that case study, what do you think about AI and robotics? All right, here's your exit challenge for the week. We would like you to list 5 repetitive tasks in your business. Ask yourself, can this be automated, delegated, or AI assisted? Then run one of those tasks through ChatGPT and test it this week.
Next week, we're answering a powerful question on our next podcast. What do buyers really want? If you think it's just profit, really think again.
So we're running a live AI audit on the Business Exit Strategies online workshop on the 4th of June. So we'd love for you to grab your seat on Meetup and you'll get the worksheet and we'll guide you through it.
If this episode lit your fire, subscribe, share, and invite fellow business owners to join us. Let's be exit ready.
Next week, we're diving into what buyers want, the surprising truth about sellable businesses. Don't forget to subscribe to Spotify, Apple, YouTube. We're everywhere. And if this hit home, share it with another owner who needs to hear it. The Meetup and Eventbrite workshop link will be in the show notes. Be a exit-ready business owner. Please take care, be kind, and have wisdom from Josie and David.